we're Terry and Bunny Dodson. Do you know how long we've been married?
30.
No, 29 be 29 in April.
29.
Well, we're Clinton Minnie Nelson. We've been married for 11 years.
This is David. I'm Rachel. We're the Lions. We have been married for 15 years.
I'm Pastor Kurt Langner, and this is my beautiful wife, Tanya.
I thought I was going to have to tell you who I
And
was.
we have 7 wonderfully great children.
We are Josh and Krista Langner. We have been married for 10 years.
I'm Monica, and this is my husband, Aaron Rosacker. We have been married for 21 years.
What is your spouse's best trait?
She's able to keep track of what we're doing, birthdays for 30-some grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She just knows what to do, when to do it.
When it seems to me like there's something, an emergency, or what am I trying to say, something critical is happening or whatever, he just stays cool in an emergency or in a time when I'm not cool, he keeps a cool head.
Her faith.
His is his compassionate heart. When we first met, we were both in children's ministry, and he really had a lot of compassion for the kids. That then over the years bleeds out into our kids and our grandkids, and I really love that about him.
Number one, I'd say she's creative in the sense of taking something and then creating something else. She can take an idea and she can run with it. She can implement it. She can make a house a home. So very creative. Selfless in the sense of following God's call, even at personal sacrifice or personal cost.
Dependability. I know that I can count on him for anything. Puts me and our family first. He'll always be there for us. He won't let us down.
That's a good answer. I like that one.
Thanks.
He is pretty handsome, and he is handy.
Her ability to know what I want when I don't even know what I want.
He's very logical, and he can approach situations and topics with a level head without letting emotions get in the way, and from viewpoints that I wouldn't have thought of. And I think that's really admirable because my emotions do get in the way, and then I'll have my viewpoint, and then you come at it with logic and intelligence, and I'm like, oh, you're right. I think you're also really selfless most of the time.
She's very compassionate, and whereas I feel like I lack an emotional response to things, she does lead with a more emotional forward response, and I think that balances me out well, because there's a lot of times where I just come at things like, well, this is the cut and dry black and white, and she comes in and helps me to understand how other people are in the situation.
He has an amazing ability to walk in love and forgiveness with everybody and anybody.
I've been thinking about this. I really think it's her loyalty to me as a wife. She's very loyal. No matter how bad I mess up, she still shows me love. And she's very forgiving too. Matter of fact, she's so loyal, she worships me because once in a while she serves burnt offerings for supper.
How do you resolve arguments?
I choose just to say we need to take a break. Stepping back, it makes a difference when you come back and talk, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's what we do.
Normally what we do, if we get to a point where we are having a discussion and it starts to get heated, we just kind of go away from each other, pray about it, think about it. It seems like a lot of times when you go and you just give it to God and pray about it, a lot of times it'll just resolve itself. But otherwise, we just wait until neither one of us are angry about it.
So passionate about our side.
Yeah, so passionate about our side. Then it makes it easier to just sit down and discuss it.
We talk about it, listen to each other's point of view, and then work it out like that.
Instead of assuming he can read my mind and understand what I want and need, that gets me so angry at him. Just the communication and being realistic at what is bothering me or what the root is.
Josh is like, we're gonna solve this right now, right in this moment, and I can't do that because, like I said, I'm emotional. And so when emotions are high, we got to take a minute. And we've learned this balance. We got to take a minute, take a breath, walk away for a little bit. And then when we come back together, then we can apologize if we need to apologize, and then discuss what the issue was and come to resolution.
We're both very quick to repent with each other. Early on, I think a lot of people do this, like, we would dig in our heels, like, well, I'm right in this situation, but we're both very quick to repent. And I think that balance of like how we both lead ourselves different ways plays into it, because like I want to dissect the problem and find out like why, where did this come from, what is the 10-point analysis of where this disagreement came from, and I want to do that like right this second. And for her, she needs to like, I need to give her space to like process, this is how she's feeling, and
for me to think, okay, well maybe I'm wrong in this situation, even though I don't feel like I am right now. And then going forward, we listen to what each other has said, and so that we can prevent that conflict from happening again. Mm-hmm. And if it does, then we've been there before. And
how do we resolve? Do you want to go first?
Nope, because you have the answer for this one.
I always have the answer. That's how we resolve arguments. Next question.
I don't. That's the problem.
So I want to deal with things right away. Rachel typically wants to not deal with things right away. I walk a fine line of forcing the issue and backing off. We're committed to the process. We're committed to try at some point, to see the other side. You're not the enemy. I'm not the enemy. We have a common enemy, but you're not it. And to recognize the fact that, no, we actually do love one another. Try to make sure that we're, for lack of a better words, attacking the issue, not the person. So, I guess a commitment to communicate, even when we're communicating poorly, would be my answer.
How do you keep Jesus at the center of your marriage?
We have this beautiful church here, the Living Word, and we have the Bibles that get opened and read. We pray together and talk about Him being there, providing for us. Everything that we have came from Him.
Amen. Yeah, that's right.
Obviously, praying together and studying the Word together. One thing that we like to do is we have gotten rid of cable and all of that, so we have Up Faith and Family, and most of the movies that we watch are Christian movies and Christian TV shows and stuff.
This is a weird question for me, because the way we live our lives, Jesus is at the center of like who we are. And so like our marriage is an offshoot of that. Individually, our decisions and actions are informed by, prayerfully listening to the Holy Spirit, coming from the Word, and that just kind of naturally flows into our marriage. It kind of feels like trying to answer, how do you keep digestion at the center of eating? It's just, there's not a way to separate them.
God comes first, then family, and within family, you have parents and children. And so if we're not making sure that we're okay together and Jesus is the center and we're focused on God, then we can't effectively disciple our children and raise our children with Jesus in the center. So we make sure that we're right. Yeah. And we're making decisions, being led by the Holy Spirit.
Jesus needs to be the center of our life first before he can be the center of your marriage. And when he's both the center of your life, then it's easier to the center of your marriage.
Besides having time with God ourselves, we are very involved in our church.
Yeah, no matter what's going on in
Right.
our life, we've always came to church, no matter how broke we were, how much money we had. We've always been faithful to stay involved in our local church.
So this is kind of the Arminius Calvinist point of view, like, do we keep Jesus at the center, or does he keep us, or does he keep himself at the center?
You're so philosophical.
Thank you. I think it's a twofold, that we have a response before the Lord, but our response is based off his initiation. He can lead us, he can guide us. Whenever I am wrong, he can correct me. I like to think I'm teachable. wanting to be right with the Lord and wanting to have a relationship with Him. But it takes Him to pursue Him, and He initiates His grace and His mercy, and He empowers me to do those things.
What's your favorite memory with each other?
What? I liked when she had babies. That was so fun.
That one night. When we had our babies. I wouldn't have wanted anyone else with me.
Our children being born.
For me, it's doing life with you every day. So many. I also like seeing him when he's with our kids and when you're interacting and having a good time with the kids. And
I think one of my favorite pictures of you is just you holding Anya when she was a baby. Just the joy that you had. It's offspring. It's where it's at.
Yeah.
God said, be fruitful and multiply. So we've done what we can.
They're all good.
One of my favorite memories, found out I had to work from home in the next 3 days. My husband, along with my children, produced my beautiful office for me, and I will have that for as long as I can remember, and it was really fast and quick.
I remember when I first brought you to church, I told her she had to come to church. I didn't give her a choice. You're welcome.
Thank you.
My dog went missing, and I love my dog. And I was super sad. I came back in the house and he had went outside, and we have a lilac bush outside the window, and I love lilacs. So he'd went out and cut me some lilacs and put them in a mason jar and put them on the counter for me.
We were at the fair and the kids kept asking for all those stuffed animals for the games. And so I was watching one of them. I was like, oh, David, you could do that one easily. So he was like, okay. And so he went over. He was warming up beforehand.
I'm old. I gotta stretch my arm so I don't throw it out.
But he was being kind of like exaggerative, and I was just like watching him. And I don't know why, but I was just like, that man, he's so cool. Like, I'm just in love with that man. But I think it was more because he was doing it for his kids, because he knew they really wanted a stuffed animal. And even though they're ridiculously expensive, he was still gonna do it. He got them some, and it was just really sweet.
Small ones, very small ones.
Yes. Did I say already? He was trying to win their heart kind of thing. So it was kind of neat to see like what he did for me. Now he's trying to do it for his kids too. So
well, we have thankfully lots of memories. We've been around the world. So again, the one that hits closer to home, that's kind of stands out, finding out about my dad getting sick, and then just the urgency again, just the moment, do what you got to do what God's leading you to do. And then coming home, probably the hardest thing I ever had to do was say goodbye, putting him in the hospice and catching my flight, knowing I never talked to him again this side of eternity. And just coming home that night and just, I can't recall any specific words you said, but just being present, just being there was probably, something I'll never forget as far as your support and encouragement to go, but just being there on the back end with not having an answer, but being present, I guess. I can say a lot more, like I said, thankfully, but that's the one that's impactful right now.
What is something special that your spouse does for you?
You know what? This is going to be right, wrong, or indifferent, but my love language is acts of service. And so just the other day, after the snow, we needed to get in the elk pens, and she shoveled gates for like 7 hours, digging out gates in the snow, in the cold, while I ran the skid loader. And that to me is just, I don't know, makes her the best.
That's sexy right there, right?
I think it is.
This is what he does for me, is there are things sometimes that I really would like to go do, and I know that he absolutely does not want to. He'll do it anyways, and he doesn't complain. He just goes and does things with me that I know he doesn't really want to do. Sweet Caesars.
It's about as sweet as I get.
The other day she went and bought groceries, and I saw 3 oranges and a bunch of bananas sitting there. I didn't ask for them this time, but she knows I like the oranges. So that's a special little thing, just to do that for me.
Little things that he does that I I've never really said too much because I don't want him to get the big head, but it's cool when sometimes when he goes to Hy-Vee for something, and then almost always he'll come home with a rose for me. And that's just kind of a cool little thing I like. He doesn't know how much I like it.
You know, he'll take time out of his own schedule to come home and let me get away and just do something without kids and him. So that is a big thing for me. And then also he just, I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but he just helps around the house, like constantly cleaning, doing dishes, stuff like that. Like things that aren't like romantic, but they mean a lot.
Encourages, quote, my calling, but also like when I wanted to go to school, you know, I made an intention to not bring it home, to not go into any debt, to do a number of things, to not sacrifice family time, but still needed buy-in from Rachel to support that. You know, I speak a lot at other churches, which is again part of my calling. That often means that we're not together all the time as a family on Sunday. More recently, when I sensed that I needed to go visit my dad before he passed away, just a quick do it, you know, do what you need to do, we'll be fine kind of a mentality. So yeah, just giving me space and encouraging me to do what I believe the Lord is leading me to do in the moment. Hopefully don't abuse that, but that's an important one to me.
Buy you Legos.
You buy me Legos. You're a very great dad. You're very attentive with our children, and I don't ever feel like I'm carrying all the weight of parenting because I'm a mom, because we do it together.
I like when you scratch my back. I appreciate how she's been able to take the lead as a mom and as a stay-at-home mom, because I think a lot of times like that gets overlooked or underappreciated. But you know, for years I had a career outside the home, and you know, it's like an ecosystem thing. I was doing that to facilitate her to be able to stay home with the kids. She was really managing the house and being, you know, mother in heart but mother in occupation, and that really is a blessing.
You listen to me, and you laugh at my senseless jokes. That means a lot to me.
Right, I do laugh. You make me laugh all the time. He actually loves to cook. He's very proud of his cooking. And yeah, he's very humble about it. But he likes to also serve me his masterpiece. So I want to bring him that joy, so I allow him to serve me.
She makes my coffee in the morning before I get up, which is usually right after she gets up. But she gets up early, like 5:30, and prays and exercise and stuff, and she makes coffee, so it's ready.
Very handy. Anything I need fixed or done, I'm really good at just doing. I need an office, he can poof, make that.
If you can't be handsome, you can at least be handy, right?
Good thing you're both.
Yeah.
Earplugs.
Have
you ever met her? She talks a lot.
I do. Listen not just to what they're saying, but what they try to understand what they mean when they're talking.
Make sure you're listening, looking at the person while you're talking to them, not on your phone.
Kurt, you can look at me and I could be talking to you, but you get this glaze over your eyes, and I know you're not hearing what I'm saying. So you gotta like right now.
What's the key to the key of good communication?
I don't think there is a key.
Thinking as you're
I think you'll learn. If I spoke to you in Spanish, I can talk all day long, and me talking doesn't mean you're hearing. So for me, even though I'm not doing it, a willingness, I need to shut up and a willingness to listen. So for me, the key initially is self-awareness. Am I aware? Am I actually listening, or am I just listening, hearing to formulate my response, or am I actually listening? And I'm poor at that, so that a self-awareness would be a key. I don't think there is the key. I think the Holy Spirit is the key. You know, he leads us and guides us. He'll convict us when we're being stupid. Well, I'm being stupid.
Listening, I guess, is the key to good communication. Listening and trying to understand what the other person's saying.
I agree.
I guess if that was us, to have some advice for young couples just getting married. Prepare your heart to not be let down. When you're young and when you're in love, I see, young couples who are just gushing over each other. After that wears off, on earth, no one can even say, even the people that love you the most, your parents, your family, ultimately will let you down in some way. So if you're put all of your trust and all of your things that you want out of a relationship in God yourself, and then you have Him handle the other person, because if you try to change them yourself, it'll fail. If you try to manipulate them, it's gonna fail. And really, ultimately, the things that your spouse are lacking are the things that you don't give them enough of anyway. So if your wife is saying to you, you never talk to me, or we lack communication, it's because you're lacking in that department and you're not giving that to them. Christ loved the church and gave Himself for it. That's basically the key to making it work. I don't know. It's been a long time we've been married, and I've noticed that everything that she lacks is something that I lacked in doing or giving her. So, but you work on it, and we're still here.
Almost 22 years.
I think the key is being vocal. Say what is on your mind. Say what you want. Say what you need.
Be okay knowing that sometimes you are wrong. Sometimes your spouse is right. Sometimes you need to apologize. Don't be prideful.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, just like right now, we're touching, and that's important. Just a little touch of the hands.
He's a touchy person. Sometimes we hold hands when we're watching TV, or sometimes even when we go to bed, we still do that, because sometimes that says a lot without saying anything. Just makes you feel comforted or whatever. So.
Well, I just think that it's really important to have fun, to laugh at the messy, yucky things. Just things that you go through. I just think it's a good idea to learn how to laugh at yourself and each other.
Sure.
I love you.
I love you too. I think a lot of times, like, fun videos like these, they show like this bright and beautiful side, and I remember like seeing videos like this, and early on in our marriage, and seeing like, oh wow, they're so perfect at this or that, but there's no such thing as like the perfect couple. We're not an Instagram ready species. We're just not. And I think looking at them, and rather than making a comparison, like setting them as, goals, like, hey, that, or takeaways, like, hey, that's something we don't do in communication that we could, or if you're not married, like, hey, this is a good practice to bring into my marriage, rather than saying, oh my gosh, like, we couldn't live up to that.
That's stressful.
I'm gonna watch this video and I'm gonna look like constipated or something. I always look constipated on film.
This feels like a police interrogation. The lights. It's like you guys are good cop, bad cop.
Who's who?
I don't know. I feel like one of us is gonna hit me with a book.
I kind of want to wear that pink helmet the rest of the time.
Go for it.
Oops. What do you love about your husband?
The funny thing
He's
is
okay
like
wearing pink. Wait, am I supposed to answer that? The spouse thing. I was like, I don't think that was one of the questions.